Always has to be a shot at somebody.
I know.
They're never clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that.
Wow.
Hi, Bobby Manning.
You need your mic, John. Plug yourself in.
I'm plugged in.
There we go. I think you
How
just
about
had to
now?
point toward yourself. Yep. There
Hi,
you
buddy.
are. What's going on? Feels like we had like
We are
one
good. It was
game
in
over the last 2 weeks.
I haven't. I don't think I've done a show in a while. Where
Yeah.
are we?
That's what we're gonna try to
welcome
figure out.
To the Garden Report. Yeah, Celtics right the ship here, and I honestly I can't even remember their last game, Bobby. It was a loss like 10 days ago.
Yeah, against Detroit and then the bad stinker in Milwaukee. So it's been a rough stretch, but really only 2 games.
Yeah. It's it is what it is. But again, no reason to panic, Bobby. Not yet, at least. As the Celtics win this one, 129-116 over a depleted Heat team. And again, we're kind of back to, well, they're playing teams without anybody there. But a win wasn't assured the entire time, so it was a good one to pull it out. They got hot there in that third quarter, heading into the fourth. 3 started to fall, and they come away with the win real quick. This show, as always, is brought to you by our pals over at Prize Picks. Use code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, this is the #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America, so you can't really go wrong here. So check it out with Prize Picks. Also, we should let you know about our friends over at Omaha Steaks, and it's gift giving time, Bobby. And if you want to get one of your loved ones a nice box of steaks, proteins, what have you, go over to Omaha Steaks. There's a lot of deals on the site now. This isn't the same as the Black Friday deal earlier, but there are incredible deals already on gift boxes, and you can add an additional $35 off your order at omahasteaks.com when you use the code Patriots. So check that out as well. So let's get into it, Bobby. What stands out to you here? And again, unreal shooting, I think, kind of like becomes the story of this game.
Yeah, the explosion at the start of the fourth, the reason they won, obviously. But I think they set up those shots in impressive ways, playing with some pace, some good actions, incredible screening by Keita, particularly on the Hauser 3 that broke the door open. Got a big hug from Joe going into the timeout out of it. And a lineup that didn't have Jaylen in it pretty much won this game at the start of that frame. So
right.
Those are all positive impressions from this one. Derek continues to keep rolling. Just a ton of stuff here. And I think the biggest pleasant surprise for me is that they won it with small ball as well, a +22 for Ugo, mostly playing center. And he's your third center, John. I said it to Jimmy the other day. Ugo Gonzalez is now your third center, and he got it done out there tonight, guarding Bam, setting screens, defensively inside and out. He was awesome. Maybe his best performance so far as a pro. So a lot of stuff to love from this one. But the biggest thing for me, and I'm sure you're going to let me hear it, is that I did not like where this game was going early. I've not liked where this last week or so was going. And they pretty much self-corrected on the fly. And some great coaching, some great playmaking, and another awesome Jaylen performance got them right back on track. And it happened quickly at the start of the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you were worried about necessarily. Like, I think we're all waiting for them to turn into a pumpkin a little bit, right? And this was like, if you're going to talk about a story of the last couple games was, well, shooting comes back down to earth a little bit, and what happens there if the secondary scoring goes away and you're not getting, the shots to fall from some of the guys who are hitting shots that you don't necessarily expect them to hit shots at that kind of clip. What happens there? What happens with that small ball lineup? How long can they, it's worked so far, but are they eventually going to pay for it? Like, when is that stuff going to start to result in poor performances or losses? And it looked for a little bit like that could happen tonight. They were getting killed. The shot attempts in the first half were crazy because the Heat had so many offensive boards, and they were definitely getting beat up. Then Keita hits the deck hard twice, and you're like, uh-oh, this could go the other way. And again, it wasn't your traditional small ball lineup. As you said, it wasn't Minot, it was Ugo, in there. So again, Joe, what I found interesting about tonight, and again, I'm going to keep tipping my hat to Joe Mazzulla for this stuff. What happens here in a game like this, and Joe's able to read it and go from there, is he realizes Ugo, who clearly I think was the story tonight. Derek White, of course, with all of the threes that he hit, was the offensive engine there until Jaylen Brown kind of snapped to attention and came back into it and got his 30. But Ugo was terrific all game long. So Ugo plays, Walsh sits there, which is interesting because I tweeted it. I feel like only one, neither can live while the other survives. The old prophecy. The Harry Potter prophecy. But Minot, his minutes are reduced as well. So it's not like, going with what you normally go with a small ball. He invents a new small ball lineup, but also you saw Mazzulla go heavy Anthony Simons in the second half while Pritchard sat because, Pritchard wasn't shooting the ball well, and I think he liked what he was getting out of Simons. Good energy, good flow to his game, and the shot was falling. And so those were interesting adjustments he made. We got Mazzulla coming up, so let's listen in.
Joe, you look at all of the margins. You guys really didn't come out ahead in a lot of those, but you came out ahead at the end. You're not going to apologize for winning a game, but do you come out of this feeling like
apologize? Damn it!
Sometimes you don't play well and you win, and sometimes you play well and you lose. Is this one of those where you don't play well and you win?
I thought we played well. I just thought there were moments of the game that they were obviously a little bit better than us, but I didn't think we played poorly coming out of that. I thought our effort was there. I thought our intentionality was there. I just obviously, when you play small, that's going to happen in other areas. But I thought it's easy to see the negative side, but the positive is we just played so much faster on the offensive end, and we created good looks, and we got those. And so it's a trade-off. And at the end of the day, each game is going to tell a different story, and it's easy to say, what looked like it didn't go well, but what went well was our offense. And, they weren't able to switch us. They weren't able to steer us. They weren't able to keep us out of the paint. And we were able to create a ton of 2-on-1s with our speed. And so I thought that was a tale in the second half. So, yeah, obviously we have to get better. We'll watch film tomorrow when we wake up, and there's 20 possessions that we have to get better at. But I thought the effort and the intentionality was there. We obviously have to do that. But tonight it was, obviously it was about, just kind of the offensive pace and the speed that we had that kind of got us good looks against a team that's one of the best defensive teams in the league.
And then fourth quarter, obviously you guys go crazy, 10 of 15 shooting from three. Is that just a result of sticking to the plan, sticking to those things that you were just talking about, and just trusting that it's going to eventually work out?
Yeah, I think Sam hit 4, I think, of those. And once we did rebound in the second half, once we got some really good rebounds, that's where we got those off. That's where Sam, I think, got 4 of his off. That's where Ant got his. That's where Derek got 1 of his. And so I think Ugo had 1. I don't know if he made it, but I know we created a good opportunity on there. But I thought we put strings of good defensive possessions that allowed us to get out and get those, and that's where the connectivity of that lineup has to be there. We have to be able to have one-shot defense, and then we have to be able to get out and run.
Joe, you've talked about the importance of embracing Celtics history. So what can you say about the Garden welcoming back Isaiah Thomas and kind of the energy that provided tonight?
Yeah, I'd say 2 things on that. Before that, I would say even when we were 0-3 or even whatever other external expectations were, it's always humbling and grateful when everyone shows up to the Garden. And I think we were 0-3, 3-3, 5-6, whatever the case was. I always turned to Sam Cassell and I'm like, man, this place is still packed. And so people just appreciate really good basketball, and I think that's what makes the job so special, being here. And you always feel like you got a chance because of that, and you do have a responsibility to that. So I want to say thanks to that. And then again, outside of the fact I couldn't hear in the timeout, I thought it was a great gesture to have IT back. He's done so much, for the city and really for the organization. And I came right at the tail end of him being here, but just who he was as a person and a player, it just says a lot about him. And he sets an example of yes, it's about winning, but also when you're a high character guy, people appreciate you, and you're able to leave the place, kind of a little better than you found it.
Joe, a lot of extended run for Ugo tonight. You've said before that sometimes you can tell when one of those guys just has it. Was there a moment in this game where you were like, okay, this is an Ugo game, I'm going to go with him down the stretch? And do you remember what that?
It wasn't one particular event. I just thought his energy was great on guarding both Ware and Adebayo. And I thought there was a couple defensive possessions in the first half where he did a great job on that, and I just thought he was tremendous on both ends of the floor. I think that's who he has to be for us. Didn't play perfect, but play with a level of energy, but a level of awareness and execution on the offensive end, playing the five for us at times and creating advantages for us. But yeah, he had it early, and I thought he continued.
Third center.
Is it freeing as a coach to have like 3 or 4 of those guys that can come in and give you that, play that role, or is it almost like challenging because you have a luxury of players kind of in that position?
Everything just comes down to we all have an understanding of what gives us the best chance to win. So, I think I don't know that I think freeing and challenging are both the same thing. So it's both. And at the end of the day, the gift that I have is we have a group of guys that understand winning, and we're going to do what it takes to win, and that might be different each and every night, but they look at the guy next to them. If the guy next to them is impacting winning, they're just as happy. So that's the most important thing, is that we just keep our eye on the process of winning.
Joe, with Ugo, you mentioned the hustle and the energy and everything. It feels like he never turns that off. When he got here, after you guys drafted him, was there a moment when you realized that's what he's going to bring to the table? Like was it instant, that you just noticed he's never going to stop, with the energy, with the hustle? It feels like he's on.
No, again, he's been well coached. He's played at one of the best organizations in the world, in all sports, many sports. So he's been around greatness for a long time. So he's had that. And like I said before, his defensive instincts are better than most young guys have been, and I think that gives him a chance. Also, that's a skill, is being able to play that hard, and I think that we have a bunch of guys that understand that on our team. He's one of them, and you kind of saw him at his best tonight, and we got to keep that up.
Why is it a skill? Why? Is it just because some people can't do it, or some people are better at it?
I just think some people are just better at it. I think he played 18. What was it? 17 straight minutes, maybe something like that. Some people, not everybody can do that, and play at the level of consistency that he did for those 17 minutes.
Final couple questions, Zach and Garrett. Yeah, Joe, along those lines, I think Sam and Anthony also played the final 17 minutes there. Just what led you to stick with that trio there, and what kind of a lift were they able to give you?
Yeah, again, I thought there was connectivity. I thought our one-shot defense was better. I thought we got some great rebounds on that. We were able to get out and run, but I liked our offensive pace. Again, they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, and the game can come down to, in a close game, if you can't. We just we can play so many different ways, and I thought tonight it was we're going to win the game with our offense because of how good their defense is, and if we can generate advantages, and if we could put them kind of in matchup situations, I think that'll kind of put them on their heels a little bit. And I thought that unit did a great job of that, and then we were able to also get stops with that unit. So it's a credit to the guys just understanding that we could play different ways, and whatever gives us a shot that night.
Final question, Garrett.
So how do you turn the tide on the offensive rebounding? They came out playing hard. They're just regardless of who's out there, they just kind of play the same way. How do you kind of adjust to that and then kind of take it back?
Yeah, I thought we did too. I thought it was actually a different tale of a different type of game, because last night they shot 25 threes, they shot 28, they shot 25 in the first half. So because of some of their guys out, they were playing different lineups and playing almost a different style to what they'd be able to do. So I thought both teams came out and played hard. I thought it's a little bit of a different situation to when they have different personnel and the spacing is different, and they're shooting more than what they would have. Because of those guys that they have, and then you just have to chip away. So we had moments of that. They were 7 for 27 in the first half because we had 7 blocks. No one talks about that. We played small half to half, and we had 7 blocks. How's that happen? Because we played hard, because we executed. You know what I mean? For a team with played a big, I think Nimi only played 9 minutes in the first half, and we had 7 blocks. That's protecting the rim. That's taking care of each other. So people don't notice that stuff. But they block it and go out of bounds. That's a dead ball rebound. So it looks like they got a ton more rebounds. So to me, I thought we played just as hard, competed, and then we were able to kind of push away, obviously, with our offense. And again, we have to win games in different ways. You want to, and tonight called for to win the game with our offense, and the guys did it.
Great, thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
All the players in the locker room? Is that what we heard?
Sounds like it.
Very interesting. Anyway, so Bobby, it's interesting right out of the gate. Corrales comes in and asks him kind of like, was this a game where you didn't play well and won? And that was
Yeah.
your vibe too. You didn't.
That was my
You didn't like the way.
vibe.
So you didn't like the way this game was going. What didn't you like? What didn't you like?
Sloppy turnovers early. In the first, they lose the turnover battle. The rebounding thing got out of control. And I will credit Joe there because this was not a game that I felt like small ball would survive in, that they would be able to counteract the offensive rebounding. You saw it yesterday, too. Miami played Brooklyn, and it was 29 rebounds combined for Ware and Bam. It felt like this was going to be the night, especially after 2 straight losses where that unit struggled a little bit, that thing was going to fall apart. And as Joe mentioned there, you ended up reaping the benefits of it into the second half by rolling with it, dealing with some of the deficiencies, and just maximizing the positives of playing small. And that's where it feels like they're going to be at, John. I've done a couple shows this week, and you're starting to think like, all right, is this team going to add a center? Are they going to address some of their roster weaknesses here? And it feels like, at least from the coaching perspective here by Joe, they don't feel like they need to play centers at the moment. They feel like they are battling enough on the boards, that they can win in other areas, that they can shoot well enough and space teams out well enough. And we're right back to what's been Joe's philosophy for a lot of his tenure here, John, is that offense means a little bit more than defense. If you're winning by the 3 and creating quality shots, that's going to be the biggest advantage you can gain. And I'm still sitting here, John, at 16-11, trying to figure out how a team that doesn't have any inside presence, never shoots at the rim, rarely runs, doesn't shoot free throws, doesn't cut. I can rattle off like 10 things that this team doesn't do offensively, and we're still sitting here watching them rank number 2 in the league in offense. It's out of this world, and it's because even with all the players they lost, they can still rain down shots like nothing. It is unreal. I've never been more impressed by a team saying, all right, we're going to win the most difficult way possible offensively. We're going to hit the toughest shots you can think of. And this team comes out and does it every night. My mind's blown, and I think it's still warranted of a little cautiousness in terms of how sustainable this is. It feels like it could come back down to earth at some point. But Joe's right. They're so relentless. They're so persistent. They play so well through their bad stretches that it feels like they can self-correct on the fly, outplay teams in the regular season, and get just enough from their best players that they're going to be above expectations this year. And that's been the story of the season so far, is just smarter coaching than most of their opponents, incredible shot making by their best players, particularly Jaylen, and figuring out just enough in terms of lineups and adjustments to get by and adapt to different circumstances in games and figure it out. And that has been the story of the season. Figure it out. Who would have thought it would be Simons, White, Hauser after Hauser?
That's the thing.
There.
Right.
Ugo.
Forgotten guys, right? Guys Joe sometimes will go to and then ignore for long stretches throughout, the recent, last, 10, 15 games, ever since Hauser kind of got knocked out of the circle of trust, or he wasn't hitting his shots. But right, Hauser, Simons, and Ugo, these are guys that are not guaranteed minutes on a nightly basis right now. They're not. And so that's, again, why I like what Joe is doing a lot, is he is really, really, really plugged into the flow of the game and being able to manage what it needs.
Possession by possession, and the amount of stuff that he pays attention to, the amount of thinking he can do on the fly. They won 2 challenges, and they were both phenomenal challenges tonight. It's just incredible, and I still feel like he's not getting enough credit for his imprint.
He's so dialed in. I've always said this part, like that Joe coaches his ass off like minute to minute in the game. You don't see a lot of guys as like every single second of every possession. For anybody who's like, Joe, get him to do stuff, like Joe can't possibly be coaching and managing, in-game managing more than he is, but he's really just got a sense of the flow. Like I don't like this, I'm going with this. I don't like this, I'm going with that. And he's doing it with conviction. And right now he's definitely pulling all the right strings. So nothing but props for Mazzulla, the way he's handled this so far this season. I think, we talked about our credit cake. He still gets the largest slice for the success right now, because I still can't figure out how this team is doing it, Bobby. And when you say they come in tonight 4th overall in offense, and maybe this performance higher up the ladder, I mean, I'll ask you, just eye test. Is this the fourth best offensive basketball team in the NBA?
When they're making shots like this, now the offensive rebounding rate, right? That counteracts the nights where they aren't hitting many, or even just the regular misses throughout the flow of a game. So they do have that backup plan for when shots aren't falling, but there aren't many other layers to this offense right now. And I feel like they're finding a few, like the pick and roll game's coming along. We should talk about Cato a little bit later in the show and what he's doing right now, but
yeah,
they have enough to make me think that this is a top 10 offense. I don't know if they're going to shoot top 10 and out of this world from mid-range for the length of the season, but there's two sides to it, John, right? Because they are getting some incredible shooting overall, but there are also guys who are coming out of slumps trying to turn their season around that you could project to shoot better. And the Derek development here is a big one, where they were so great the first quarter of the season offensively, but you didn't have Derek. And now it feels like Derek's turning back into himself. And it's like, okay, if you're going to have that, this probably can sustain itself a little bit. Or Hauser being back closer to a 40% guy, or Simons, can you get a little bit more from him? So there's so many layers to this team that it is hard to judge them collectively player by player, because it is going to be a different group every night. It is going to be a different contributor each game. And I'll give credit to Joe as well for the Simons flip, because we talked a little bit about it last game. He has not been involved or efficient or just overall productive the last week or two here, Simons. And to roll with him late over Pritchard, that's what we've been looking for. Pritchard doesn't have it. Simons looks like he can give you something here. And he builds on what I thought was a decent close to that Detroit game on Monday.
And that's what's interesting is it is weird that it's either or because of the redundancies. And I think that's something you've got to figure out a way to work around. And again, we go all the way back. I've mentioned it a zillion times to the Brogdon situation when you had Smart and White and not able to figure out how to work those three guards in because you didn't want to play 3-guard lineups. And so when three of your better offensive players are guards and you don't want to be playing 3-guard lineups, it's always going to be at the expense of someone. And it feels like it's Pritchard and Simons are going to be stuck in an either or scenario in the second half of games. And it's going to end up Pritchard more often than not. But the same exact thing happened with Ugo and Walsh tonight. Ugo's hot, Walsh goes away. It kind of stinks that you'll have guys who might be effective on their own, but if the other guy's out playing them, that they go away completely. I feel like that's.
That's just how it has to be this year, though, John. And
I know,
that was the one area I questioned because Pritchard's been such a staple.
Yeah,
but I like the fact that he feels emboldened in a game like this to go Simons over Pritchard because there should be some trade-off. We've been saying that all year, John. Pritchard's better. Pritchard has played better this year. I still feel like even with the poor shooting. But there are nights where Simons is going to play better, and there are enough of those that you should be able to make a decision late.
No doubt. I would just rather they all get like if the players have value, I'd like to figure out ways to maximize their value as opposed to just being like, no, PP's got it tonight. Simons, you can just sit it out. And that's weird because you might not be getting the goodness you could get out of Simons, or, hey, Walsh is playing well. Ugo, we don't need you. Well, like, what if Ugo could turn the game around with more minutes? But if you're not going to give it to him because the other guy hasn't faltered and you don't feel like you need a spark or something else, then you never really know. Sometimes you don't know what the other guy's going to give you because you've just decided I'll just go in this direction.
Well, I'll disagree with you for one reason, because they are getting development. It feels like Walsh's progression is a steady improvement despite him being pulled for certain late game situations. We had a little bit of a debate last show whether Walsh should have started or Simons should have started because Joe went Simons for offense late. They sat down Walsh after only 3 shots. But even through some of those second halves where Walsh doesn't play as much tonight included, you are seeing him improve. And the stuff he did in this first half.
You went Simons in the Milwaukee game, right?
The end of the Detroit game when they were down 8.
Detroit game, rather. Yeah.
So I love what they're doing in terms of the interchangeability. And if it was at the cost of development, I'd be more concerned about it. But they are still seeing improvements from guys across the board, including Ugo, who is basically an
I can't argue.
Role.
Look, I can't argue with any of it, Bobby, because my concern with this was you're icing guys out. Like, I don't like the either. I don't mind tough love as a coach, but I do think when you're trying to develop people, what you don't want the Neesmith situation. I missed a 3. I missed my first 2 shots, and now I'm not going to play for 5 game. Like that's what it felt like you were getting back then. And I don't think that develops people. Amazingly, even when guys have been kind of in mini dog houses, at least, in Joe's world, they've come out of it without, their tail between their legs, without shaken confidence. They've kind of come back out and put their best foot forward and jumped right back in and contributed. So you are worried that it's like, well, this guy's, you've shattered him, like he doesn't know what to be anymore. He can't be what you want him to be. And if he doesn't make a shot early, he's not going to play the rest of the game. Like that's no way to play. But these guys have been okay with it. Simons, I think, is the one where you'll look at always and be like, he feels like he's thinking a little bit, but like he seemed totally in the flow tonight. And I'm not arguing for playing him more or starting him or playing him over Pritchard. I just think you have to utilize everything you have, and you don't want to bury a guy for
Hauser. Yeah, it's Hauser or Simons when you're looking for more shooting right now, which is what they've needed. I mean, we keep talking about the great shooting, John, and they come into this 15th in three-point shooting. They've sat in the bottom half of the league for a lot of this year. So it's not like they've been lighting it up from three. It has been the mid-ranger that's carried them. And, seeing Hauser get going here and be part of the closing lineup alongside Simons, those are the two guys you're going to need, at least one of them, to give you steady shooting. Hauser's missed a lot of makeable shots this year. Still a little puzzling what's going on with him to begin the season. I like some of the other stuff he's bringing them, but he can't get the three to fall at the rate he usually does. And then for Simons, his three's in a great place. Inside the arc, he's finally starting to come around here and make some good decisions passing the ball, all the rest. And, to stick with him, I feel like from everything I've seen, from everything I've heard, including from Brad the other day, he's handled the situation exceptionally. And that's hard to do. Like, I can't fathom where he was last year, where he's been in terms of a role at the start of his career, to accept this level of sacrifice, the way he's had to adapt to their system, and just having a modest role night in and night out. Almost feels like he's a role player in certain circumstances. And they feel like it's necessary. I feel like they could get a little bit more out of him. It's a balance, I'm sure, given what they want, what they need out of their rotations, their style that they're trying to play this year. He doesn't perfectly fit, but they're still getting 10, 15 points out of him on a lot of nights. What's he averaging for the year? Like 13, 14? And he's giving you that pretty much every night. I know he has slowed down a little bit recently, but to have him in a role where he knows what he's going to be doing most nights and he's going to take advantage of those
minutes. It's just funny. I will say, and we'll talk about this a little later. I just allude to it quickly because Brad Stevens did a little state of the state the other day, and there were a couple of nuggets in there, and just point blank asked about Simon. The quote to me was really funny because it was just
that was my question.
It was a masterclass in Brad speak of him not saying anything, but also saying a lot while not saying anything. And the quote was he's really trying. I think he's really trying. Quiet guy, great guy. Good mindset, helping any way he can. We know he's capable. And this and that. And I've been impressed. Yeah,
I really like him.
I'm a big fan. I like him a lot. But it's just funny. He's made strides, but. At no point is he talking about he's important to us. He's a big part of our team going forward. Anything.
Well, that's what I wanted to judge when I asked that. I was like, what's he going to say in terms of his value to them? And he just likes what he's given them. It feels like he's just here as a stop. And if that's what it's going to be, make the most of it for both sides. And then if you have to part ways at the end of the year, that's just how it's going to go. You would have loved to have gotten more in terms of a sustainable player long-term for Holiday. But ultimately, I feel like it was a good chance to take a shot on him, and they've made the best of it. And I feel like he is growing comfortable in that role at the very least, which is what they need him to do. He cannot be rejected.
Hauser for Time Lord. Would you do it?
No. John, nice try.
It caught my attention.
Maybe sign him this summer.
I'm saying if you're going to improve, a lot of people are talking about trade deadlines and this and that. If you're going to improve, you have to trade a redundancy for a need. That's the only way it's going to work.
Hauser's increasingly becoming that guy, I feel like.
Yeah, and Hauser is, and his contract is there. If you can get a big back in that range and not take on any salary, that might help you. That's something you have to consider.
I think
Time
Rob
Lord,
makes 14,
I am afraid.
Right?
I'm afraid Rob is dead.
Yeah.
As much as the memory of Rob, it will always be there for me.
But I feel
all
like
that.
Simons is going to be here probably in terms of deadline and where the situation's going. I just don't think
We'll
it's going
see.
to be. Yeah, we'll see. I would hate to salary dump him though. That is not what I want to see.
It's not a dump. I think that's bad management. To me, it's just simply you're trading for a greater need if you're going to do that, and that salary seems to make sense. And whatever you bring back, that's going to be okay. Real quick, we want to tell you guys about our pals over at Prize Picks, and again, this episode and all episodes are brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the holiday season, best time of year for sports. You know what's going on. You've got a playoff push right now. Those of you in your fantasy playoffs, it's already begun. Bobby Manning doing quite well, but that's not what we're here to talk about. You got bowl games, you got basketball games, you got playoff pushes. It's all happening now. Hockey, what have you. And while you and I are out there making decisions every day, Bobby, these decisions can get you paid. Prize Picks, super easy. America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, win up to 2,000 times your cash. You got to be kidding me, right? Fun way to play daily fantasy if you like it. The best thing about it, you can kind of mix and match sports if you like to do that. I don't. It makes my head spin, but a lot of people love to do that. I like to kind of focus in on one game and pick players strictly playing in that one. Or maybe if you're talking about football, I'll go time slots. Doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, go for it. Lots of fun stuff. New feature alert right now. Prize Picks has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you can cash out early before the game finishes. So yeah, and if your fantasy season is over, your team's cooked. With Prize Picks, you don't have to wait till next year. Lets you play fantasy football every week, pick your favorite players, and win when they hit their projection. It is that easy. So again, what do? You download that Prize Picks app, use your code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, code CLNS, get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it is good to be right. Is it good to be right?
Oh yeah.
Bobby was right about a lot of stuff. The champ is
tonight.
Dethroned. I didn't even make the playoffs this year. Bobby, are you still alive? Are you in the Final Four? You got a bye,
it was
right?
an interesting Thursday. We're on the second round. So Seattle played last night. I went with their defense, probably shouldn't have, and they got lit up pretty bad. So
they did indeed.
To the playoffs.
They did indeed. We're going to hear from Ugo Gonzalez in a little bit, but I'd like to kind of move the conversation there because every time he plays, Bobby, every time he plays, like he does all the wow things that you expect, because he does such a good job.
On the sideline. Wow.
You put him on big rate. He's the hustle is outrageous. He can stay in front of guys. He's just you talk about motor. I don't remember a guy on the Celtics with a motor like this. Like I'm trying to think, like it is nonstop here. And then when you get any sort of offense off of him, it's gravy. I like him in transition, and I think that's fine. I think he's still got a long way to go in the half court, and he's really got to kind of lock in that shot there. But I mean, he's 19 years old, and the kid just doesn't look like nothing shakes him, right? Like he just goes out there and he competes. And if he has a bad day, he's fine with it and he bounces back. If he has a bad moment, he doesn't get frustrated. He just gets back up and he just keeps coming. And the amount of times he's made this year, has he flipped a game? Like way more than he should, given the amount of time that he's been given. He's flipped 3, 4, 5 games on his own with his energy.
Yeah, I think back to the Knicks game a week or two ago. That was their most impressive win of the season to that point. He played a full quarter, I believe, in that game and guarded Towns and did a bunch of important stuff in that one. And you can just rattle off the different performances he's given them. I thought he was huge on Monday, too. 5 rebounds, 5 points in short time there. Super efficient in these spots. It's unreal how he comes into the game, and we've talked about it. You get 2, 3 shots. Can you make them? And he does a lot of the time. The poise, strong. looks like we're just scratching the surface of seeing what his offensive potential is, but he's just doing all the things that get you on the floor every night. And he is out there every night. It's like a tag team with Walsh. Walsh can foul a couple times, end up out of the game, and then Ugo can just come in and do the same stuff, which was basically the trade-off from the first half to the second half in this one. Both of them had big impacts on either side of that. And in this one, you can just rattle off the moments. The sideline steal, there's a great dive for a ball at one point. The corner three where you had to release it almost instantly, hits it. A ton of it put back at one point from a couple feet out. He's just so impressive. And I was thinking about this the other day, John, our reaction to this pick that night, my reaction to that pick, where I'm like, all right, this is a guy you're not going to see this year. This is a long play. This has got, another sign that they're going to take a step back this year and try to set themselves up for the future. And for it to go the other way, where you probably got one of the more ready-made prospects to contribute immediately,
that's the amazing part.
What you're trying to do. Like, my Lord, this is one of the craziest draft picks I've seen since I started covering the sport.
That's the surprising part, is the NBA readiness of a 19-year-old kid. And again, I get it, and I don't need it explained to me. I understand if you're playing in Europe and you're playing with men from the age of 16 on, you're seasoned. You're playing at a higher level of competition than college basketball if you're playing professionally in Europe, for a team like he played for over there. So that's legit competition. You're playing against men. You're playing extremely high level basketball. So it shouldn't be surprising, yet it is, because we see the number and we see 19 and we're like, yeah, I don't get it, like for him to do that, but unbelievably ready to go. The game needs refinement, but he's just not, he doesn't shrink from the moment. He'll take all comers. And that's the best part about it, is his game still needs development and refinement, but that's where he's going to come along in terms of being able to throw him out there and not, Brad, again, the other day, he talked about year one Walsh and he kind of laughed. He's like, I knew he wasn't going to be able to hang in year one. Yeah. He was also 19, but he's like, he wasn't ready in every way imaginable. Physically,
there was no playing time.
There was no playing time, but it's like he just knew, like, this wasn't for him. Ugo, again, he's thrust into a good situation where the team can absolutely work him into the rotation, give him a shot, give him a chance to develop. And this is one of the beauties of, being a team like the Celtics are now. You can develop guys. You can see what you have. My great lament, you guys will tease me about the Romeo thing for the end of time, but my lament was Nesmith and Romeo together. You just didn't give them a chance to see if they could play because they were on a team that you thought you had established guys who needed to play ahead of them. It was a shit team. They shouldn't have done that. They should have played those guys all season long, and they didn't, and it was really frustrating. And again, turns out Nesmith was something, Romeo was not, but the Celtics never found out. They got rid of both of them. That was as far as Ugo, I love everything I see. Here he is in the locker room after the game, talking about tonight's win.
Did you ever feel like you did?
Which mean you had it?
You had a season high minutes. Joe let you out there get a lot of run.
I don't know what you mean when you had it.
How did it feel for you playing that kind of minutes?
Great. It was really great game to be in. We got a great fight out there, and we got a massive win for us. We're coming off a bad stretch, and obviously when you have also some days off, you think about you can't lose 3 in a row. We didn't want to lose 3 in a row, and that was our main objective today, to get the win, whatever it takes.
There were some moments you were clearly frustrated. How did you keep yourself in the game?
Well, I think that just with the support of my teammates, as I said before, they do a great job of knowing that I know I'm hard on myself, and at some point they always cheering me up and telling me that I need to be focused on the next play because you cannot be living in that, So.
Ugo, Joe was just talking about how effort and hustle are a skill. Have you looked at it that way, and what have you done to maximize that? How has that shaped your training?
Well, I don't know if it's a skill or not. I just try to play the game like that because it's how I like to play it, and I feel that it's just really useful for the team. I think that we got a lot of guys, not me especially, but everybody that we play with high energy. We play with high energy today. That's why we got the win.
Joe talked about how fast you guys played on offense. during that stretch when you hit all the three-pointers early in the fourth quarter, what went into that pace?
I mean, I think that also we're trying to emphasize on playing faster, especially when we got our small ball lineup that I feel like we can outrun them with the pace. And then scoring the three-pointers, we're just looking for our best shooters, some of the best shooters in the world, and they do their thing, so that's basically it.
Ugo, you guarded Bam and Ware for stretches tonight. You guarded Cat, in the Knicks game a little while ago. How much do you practice guarding so many different positions, and what goes into that sort of defensive ability to guard so many positions?
Well, I mean, just have a high awareness of who you're guarding with whoever. Usually when I'm guarding the five and we got a pick and roll, I'm switching them with the point guard or whoever, and you just not gonna know. You just gotta know who are you guarding, know their tendencies, and know how we want to guard him, to try to stop him. So just basically being locked into on who you're guarding.
And in some of those small ball lineups, when you're on offense, it feels like you're setting more screens, you're running the pick and roll as the roller more often. Have you been practicing that? Is that something that you're trying to do more at all, playing out of the pick and roll as the screener?
Yeah, we practice it a lot. Obviously, we're doing it a lot in the game, so we gotta have the clear ideas of how are we being organized in that case. We practice it a lot. It's nothing that we're doing new. We practice a lot and before, but nowadays everything, whatever we do, we practice it a lot to make sure that it's gonna help us in the game. And whenever we feel that that's gonna be right, we just do it.
You mentioned there were moments where you're hard on yourself tonight. Has that always been how you've been, even when you were younger, were you kind of always hard on yourself on the floor when you messed up?
Yeah, I feel like I've always been a little bit too much emotional. That's the way I am. As I said before, the way that I like to play. I feel the game a lot. When things are going great, I'm the first one that is gonna go for you, try to hug you, whatever. And obviously, you got the bad part also that I try to control as much as I can. At the end of the day, it's always been like that. I've always been super emotional playing the game.
Do you think it benefits you too?
I mean, I guess sometimes you gotta relax out. I gotta be better on reading the game. I got some fouls that weren't going in the game plan, I think, and that weren't silly fouls. It just was too much energy, too much excitingness. So I feel that was basically it.
How do you balance being aggressive, going for the steal defensively versus maintaining position?
Well, I feel like with me, I always try to follow my instincts. Whenever I see that I got an opportunity to make a play, I try it. Obviously, it's not gonna happen anytime and every time. We just try to follow it. That's who I am at the end of the day. I try to make a play, try to follow my defensive instincts to get a steal or get a block or be in the right spot, whatever. And sometimes it's getting wrong. I just need to try. It happens more times that we succeed that we not. So.
You mentioned Derek the other day when you were emotional. He kind of lifted you up. Do you have certain people on the team that play that role, or is it just whoever's there in that moment?
I feel like whoever's there. I mean, everybody. We got a great, we got super good group as human beings. We always gonna be together for each other, and whoever is a little bit down, there's always gonna be somebody that's gonna take your shoulder. It's gonna get you under your wing and try to cheer you up. Obviously, maybe you get switched, but at some certain point, maybe not that game, the next game you're gonna come up and you need to be important. So I feel like everybody tries to have the back of each other, and that's what makes us succeed, I feel. Thank you, Hugo.
Thanks,
Hugo. Thank you, guys.
And there you have Hugo Gonzalez. Good stuff. And again, you notice the emotion stuff. He does get fiery a lot, and he's swear. You can see it. He gets really mad there. But you like to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked around because, listen, he's going to be tough on himself. And even I wonder sometimes, all right, what's this going to look like long term? Who's he going to be? Because right now he is just a bit of an energy gadget player, per se, doing a little bit of everything for them. You don't know what he's actually going to look like in his full-fledged role eventually. And when you ask around, it's A guy like him, you just do what you can to get on the floor at this stage of your career. And that's all the team wants to see from him at this stage. I'm sure it's an enormous, pleasant surprise that he's carved out the role he has. I know they didn't fully expect what Walsh has done to start this year. It's just incredible that you can be surprised sometimes by just giving a guy opportunity, seeing what they can carve out. And Brad said it the other day too. Like, Joe's been super clear about his expectations for these guys, how they can get on the floor, what they need to do. And I think that's probably given them a pathway to playing too. And you discussed earlier, John, can guys feel lost? Can guys feel frozen out? I saw Joe along the sideline spend an entire time out drawing something up on the whiteboard for Minot, who he's obviously coached hard and has pulled from games and has been tough on as well, but has continued to pull some productivity from. He had that really nice chase down save to set up an Ugo dunk in that first half. One of the better plays I've seen all year from this team. This was impressive stuff tonight. The way they did it, who contributed to it. Obviously, I did not feel great in the first half, John. And then for them to self-correct as quickly as they did there in the third quarter, almost as I was texting it, seeing them go on that run, they continue to impress. Even me, who was probably about as confident in this team as anyone going into the year. This is not the way I expected them to do it. This is not how I thought they'd be winning a game like this through Ugo and Walsh and some of these guys tail into the bench. Remember what you said going into the year, John? Like, you felt good about Jaylen. You felt good about White, Pritchard. And then on the bench, it's just guys you have no idea. G leaguers, rookies, guys with zero experience. That's what's going to kill you. It's been the other way around. White has struggled. Pritchard has struggled immensely. And these guys have been the ones who have powered you alongside Jaylen by doing all the little things. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that's where I've changed my thinking in terms of overall how I view this team is the floor is significantly higher. I thought the floor was really potentially very low with this team. And so worst case scenario could have been worse than any of us imagined. And that was my fear. And I gave all the reasons for why. Jaylen can play the role of alpha. Derek White's going to be asked to take on a larger role than he's ever taken. Pritchard's going from sixth man to a guy who's got to score all the time and play starters against starters, in starter minutes. And how's that going to hold up? And is it going to be more than? And then literally no idea what you have. Plus a big man rotation that clearly is an issue. But again, you talk about all of the things that happen. Nemish Keita at least showed that he's at worst, a capable backup on a good team and a fringe starter. Worst case scenario, which we didn't even know if he was that good. So he's been super impressive in what he's done. Again, nothing behind him, but all of these guys, Walsh, Minot, Ugo, and the contributions you're getting off of them. Your expectation was Simons would be better than he was. And so it's Hauser would be better than he was. Yeah. So it really, the whole thing is flipped upside down. And that's why I keep waiting. Cause it's like, what if those guys turn into pumpkins? I don't really know, but that's the thing I keep coming back to. I'm a little concerned with, which is what makes it hard to buy in. But I do think the floor, what we do know is they're not awful. I don't know if they can sustain their level of play, particularly with some of the shooting and the percentages when you look at Walsh and Minot and what those guys are shooting, or even Ugo, that doesn't seem like what they're about. So I am worried when that comes back down to earth, what happens with those guys. But they're not lost. They can play.
They have a lot of ways they can stay in games.
They can compete. Unreal. They can do things for you. They can do a lot of things for you.
Yeah, and then you can compete with some of the better teams.
Way more than I expected. Way more than expected. Yeah, I thought there'd be a third of the league that they'd show up and it would just be sad and futile, and they wouldn't be able to hang in there. So definitely very, very, very impressed by how that's gone. Quick before we move on, and we're going to be joined by Noa Dalzell in a minute coming in from the Garden. We do want to tell you again about our friends over at Omaha Steaks. And again, the deals keep coming. We had a great Black Friday deal, and right now, gift giving time. And you know me, Bobby, I like to host. I like to give gifts. I like to do it all. So I've done both. I bought myself some. I've bought some Omaha Steaks as gifts as well. And they should be shipping right. If they haven't already arrived, they'll be coming now. There's still time to get them out there for the holidays. They can turn this around in 24 hours, sometimes even faster. It's crazy. So if you want to send it as a gift right now, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience, and certified tender steaks you can get delivered right to your door, plus a terrific promo, and it just popped off the screen, but you'll see it again, an extra $35 off at omahasteaks.com for our viewers when you use the code Patriots at checkout. Yeah, they're sponsoring our pals over at Patriots Press Pass, but we're here to deliver the news for you. And again, like I said, I've already ordered. I'm through an entire box of steaks. I have a roast that I'll be making for Christmas, and I've ordered one. I've sent as gifts that should be arriving shortly if they haven't arrived already. And so it's a terrific thing. Unrivaled quality, variety, every bite backed by their 100% guarantee. Perfect time to save this great, delicious gift baskets right now. It's not just steaks. It's like entire meal plans with potatoes, desserts, other proteins, burgers, really cool stuff. Every steak perfectly aged to maximize tenderness, hand cut by master butchers in America's heartland, grass-fed, grain-finished beef, more marbling for exceptional flavor, the choice of steakhouses and professional chefs around the world. So again, save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com, and for an extra $35 off, use code Patriots at checkout. Terms apply. See the site for details. Again, omahasteaks.com, promo code Patriots. And I'll tell you, there's an extra little deal going on for the gift boxes from the site, so make sure that you check it out right away. We're going to bring in Noah. We're going to bring in Noah. Yes, we're going to bring in Noah. What's up, Noah?
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Good. Noah, yes. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. All right, great. We're going to start with this. You can only keep one, Walsh or Ugo. Go.
No,
Welcome
I'm not
back,
doing
John.
it. I'm not doing it. Oh, my internet went out. Oh, that's crazy.
You get to keep one.
I mean, Ugo's
Ahmed, put it in a
contract
poll.
has you here. No, I'm not.
I know,
Ugo
I'm just
has a
messing
longer
around.
term contract, so that's the good piece. I was thinking about this today. Where like Ugo breaking
You're
through
thinking
this
Ugo
year.
or Walsh?
No, I was just thinking that Ugo breaking through this year is some, you have some assurance that you have him here long term. Jordan only has another year. Obviously, you're going to probably try to extend him, I would imagine, but that's the only thing. But it's pretty cool. I asked, I think you guys probably had this presser going. I asked Joe about like whether it's freeing or challenging to have like those plethora of options. He said they're the same thing. I have no idea what that means, but in my eyes, you would think that would be a huge asset where if you feel like, okay, tonight it's Ugo's night, he can play that role, and if it's on his night, you have Jordan. Like you have two guys that are kind of doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we
But-
talked about. And it's interesting because it could go both ways, right? My fear was, and we had this conversation a million times earlier in the year with Simons, I'm like, you just decide tonight's the night you're not playing him. Like eventually, like when he comes in, like what are you going to expect out of him? Ugo, he gets put on ice from time to time because, you know, Walsh has been playing so well, or they like what they're going, or Minot's playing the small ball five and it's working fine. And he just kind of disappears. And then he comes in and it doesn't affect him. He comes in and he has nights like this. And again, we've mentioned, Noah, how many games has he flipped on his own where he's completely changed the energy from the moment he stepped in the game and made it so Joe almost has no choice but to continue playing him because it's like, I just love bringing to the game right now.
I think ideally you keep them both as long-term pieces if you're able to.
I know. I
Like,
was
those
joking with that one.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that like right now because right now there's a redundant only because the conversation, Noah, was it's like it's an either or right now based on their skill set and the fit on the team, much like Simons and Pritchard is kind of an either or either. And it's almost always going to be Pritchard in those cases, but you are freezing out somebody that could do valuable things for you. So you see Ugo play, but you realize and recognize Walsh has been playing better, more consistently. And chances are he's not going to cede those minutes on most nights, which means you're going to kind of head back to the bench. Thanks for the effort tonight. You know, we'll pull you up when we need you again. It's nice to know that he's got it, but it's a bummer that you can't utilize it more because of the roster.
I mean, the biggest thing that Ugo has going for him right now is that he's literally 19 years old, and I don't think anybody expected that he'd be showing this consistently in year one. Like, I thought maybe a couple flashes, but tonight it was a consistent effort throughout an entire game, right? It's not a couple plays where like he looks good, now back to Portland, right? Like that has not been his rookie season. So that's probably been the most impressive part, is that he's doing this at 19 years old. And so it's hard to picture where he might be in year three. Like he might be a whole different level of basketball player at that point. But they've both had just great moments so far this season.
Yeah,
They
no
have,
doubt about it.
And Walsh has gotten to a level where you do worry about, all right, he gets to a free agency setting or even a negotiation, and you're like, all right, can we meet what he's asking for here? I think it's too soon to say that, but the level he's scoring, I mean, I sent you the ESPN analytics, John, of guys 3 years into their career right now, what they're doing this season. I think Walsh was third in offensive efficiency.
Dude,
Unreal.
Like, we've been dying for athletic 3-and-D type wings to come in and spell Brown for how long right now? It's been my number one offseason priority for the last 4 years. Like,
Unreal.
with the exception, like,
It's the hardest thing to find too.
Get a guy. You need a guy who can come in so those guys don't have to carry the load so much, so you can get them down to 35 minutes a game. Like, there's been nobody behind them, nobody. And so it's amazing to have guys who can do what they're doing right now. And it is great. And you on a complete team, you love these energy pieces, right? You know, like, how good would those players be on a very good team? Like, they're getting opportunities to do more than they normally would, but you love those types of role players coming in there and just causing chaos, because it takes a lot of the burden off of your starters too, to not have to do that and play. You're not saying Tatum and Brown are always going to, play with a relative level of defensive energy, focus, and intensity. And it's a real staple of Tatum's game that I think goes under, that's overlooked a lot. Yeah, totally underappreciated. But having those guys coming in there just means there's no rest for the other side. It's just always, it makes you hard to play against, and that's what they are. They make you hard. It's hard to play against them.
It looks like it. And I was just thinking as he said that, Noah, that probably has contributed to Jaylen's consistency and success, and what he's been able to do offensively is that they have offloaded that responsibility that he's filled in the past, guarding the best players to Ugo, to Walsh, to those other guys. Obviously, part of that was his thinking, his idea, but he's now scored 30 in 6 straight games, 9 of the last 11. Unreal what he's done offensively, and I'm sure some of that is that he's been able to take on easier defensive assignments.
And ultimately, he's going to be 30 next season. Like, you want young guys to be able to be tasked with that responsibility. It takes a toll on your body. Like, he's had knee surgery, right? Like, at the end of the day, I do think in the playoffs he's going to have another level defensively that he can get to. But through 82 games, the fact that you have multiple great options and they're so young, and knock on wood, haven't had any major injuries in their career. So it's just a different level of mileage. They haven't had the minutes, the toll. So yeah, it's felt like it's been a luxury of goods. And there are moments offensively where Jordan feels like he's kind of in a different class as far as just being able to read the game, make the right play. And that's kind of what Brad Stevens alluded to the other day, where he got on the floor because of his defense, but now he's able to kind of do things offensively that are the next tier of basketball player. I think Ugo has those moments too, where he'll make a great pass to Keita, or he'll pull for 3, he'll have a nice little drive. Like, it's not perfect, and sometimes he misreads it, sometimes he gets blocked at the rim, but I've been really impressed with his offensive game, considering the fact that that's not supposed to be where he's at right now. I mean, 10 points for him on 4 of 7 shooting tonight, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, he does a lot of good things on the offensive end, especially considering the lack of experience there.
He's smart.
Yeah, he can get better, but he doesn't look shook, right? Like, he doesn't, not too big for him. He just goes out there and he plays his game, and there's a ways to go. There's a lot of refinement yet to come, to his game offensively, but he's undeterred. He just kind of goes out there and he does his thing each time. He's not afraid to take the shot when the ball swings over to him. He's not afraid to attack the paint, and take those opportunities. He's good in transition. He looks comfortable. He does not look like the game's moving too fast for him. He's just still learning, and going to get better. But it really is impressive watching him play. You compare him to a year 1 Walsh, at the same age, the game looked, even year 1, year 2 Walsh, the game looked really, 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 really fast for him.
The big difference between the two is Walsh is getting a start. Walsh is getting to play a lot of minutes. Ugo's doing this in 10 minutes, little pockets of playing time, end of a quarter, throw him in, have him guard for a couple possessions, and 2-3 shots most nights. Obviously, tonight he got 7. He's hitting them efficiently. It's out of this world. We were saying earlier, Noah, our reaction on draft night, what we thought this would be then compared to now, crazy stuff.
It is crazy stuff. While Noah is setting up again, and again, both Bobby and Noah joining us from the Garden here, and there's a couple of people freaking out for us being late. It takes a little while for Bobby to get down from the seats. And
you're
get
gonna blame
himself
me?
set up. No, I tried to time it, and then and that's what it was. So it's just blame Bobby. No,
Okay.
but that's all it was. But while we are waiting, I do want to tell you guys here, for those of you who, tons of you I know,
Great win tonight. Fun game.
have been
fun
here.
atmosphere.
Tons of you guys have been here from the beginning, so you guys don't need this spiel, but some people might be joining this show for the first time or relatively new. So I just want to let you guys know you are watching the Garden Report Postgame Show. We do this after every single show. We've been doing it since the pandemic, since the bubble, since the COVID Disney bubble. If you haven't already, please hit subscribe, turn on notifications here so you never miss it when a new video drops on the channel. We don't just do this. We have a lot of other shows and podcasts, not just on this channel, but on all of our channels, including Celtics All Access, which has a ton more Celtics and basketball related podcasts. Fans of NBA history, we've got that channel covered as well. Nick Gelso, Cedric Maxwell, Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Michael Cooper over there populating that with terrific NBA history content. Patriots fans, check out Patriots Press Pass. Bruins fans, got you covered with Bruins Ringside. We're even upping our Red Sox coverage this year as the Sox kind of, are starting to pop a little bit, Bobby. We'll see.
Roman
what
Anthony was
there.
at the game tonight.
Anthony was there. Will Campbell was there, shirtless. Boston loves its Boston sports. We love to cross pollinate as we do. So again, please subscribe. And again, you can also listen to the Garden Report on audio, Apple, Spotify, what have you. If you do that, please rate and review the show as well. That would really help us out. We really do like that. For those of you who don't get the chance to watch the video version, you can do that as well. Also, we'll let you know any super chat donations you make to the Garden Report is spread out equally among the hosts. We're good like that. So we do appreciate that. We don't ask for them. We don't like to beg, but we certainly do appreciate it when you do deliver them. If you do deliver a super chat, we'll put your comment up on the screen. We'll mention your name and we will talk about whatever it is that you wanted to talk about. We'll start right here with Jay Lyons. If Tatum comes back in decent shape, do the C's have a shot at the Eastern Conference Finals? The thing we let our imaginations run wild on us when they went through that stretch. Noah, they ran the gauntlet. They had that 6-7 game stretch that they went through all the way through to the Lakers. And they basically just wiped the floor with everybody. The one loss to Minnesota was the only blemish, but that to me was like the real turning point of the season, where I think a lot of people started thinking, shit, maybe. Again, suffered a couple of losses. They bounced back tonight. They beat a Heat team that was a little, shorthanded. But where do you stand on this, Noah, in terms of this team and their ceiling?
Yeah, that definitely seems realistic. I mean, I think they have a chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals without Tatum, a much smaller chance. But I think it's almost like people are forgetting how good Tatum is and how many holes he can automatically plug, even if he's not 100% who he was last year before his injury right away. Like, I almost would say that if he comes back and he is playing at a healthy level and he's able to play 25 minutes a night, I would almost expect them to make a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, at that point, you have a really good team that's been consistent all season long, and then you have like a first-team All-NBA guy coming back who, again, I'm picturing him coming back at relatively a version of himself. Like, I don't see a world where he's not, that they're not kind of in the mix for that at that point.
It depends on the timing, right? Because as we've talked about, if it's February, if it's March, if there's a runway, he can probably be closer to himself by the time the playoffs come around. If he's trying to sneak in and figure things out around playoff time, I think that's where it gets difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see how the timing lines up here. And obviously Drew Smith was here tonight, who came back 9 months, said a couple preseason games had him feeling good, and he felt like himself pretty soon after that. So obviously different role, different kind of player, different style, different size of a human being. But it's incredible what some guys have done coming back. And that's what gives me the confidence, John. Isaiah Jackson, Drew Smith, a couple of guys coming back from last season. We'll see DeJounte Murray soon here, probably. They've come back and have played and have looked like themselves and have mostly just hit the ground running when they return. Now, those guys had training camps. Those guys had preseasons. That's going to be the difference here with Tatum too. But if Tatum's 80% of himself, even maybe like half of what you would want from him ideally, it does fill a lot of your needs, as Noah said there, positionally, defensively, on the boards in particular. In this game, again, you're still brutal rebounding the ball in your own end, and that's what worries me about this team in a playoff setting, because something like that becomes a little more pronounced when a team can key in on it over 7 games and you don't have solutions for it per se.
Well, earlier in the week, we did get to hear from Brad Stevens, who kind of held a little State of the Union with the Celtics, answering questions on a bunch of different topics. And naturally, Jason Tatum was, one of the first things that was discussed by Brad in terms of his return. I'm going to play the comments. I know you guys have already, done a bit on this and talked about it and given your opinions, but I don't know if everybody here in the chat has gotten a chance to hear them. So I want to put you guys on the spot one more time. Just read and react to, what it is that Brad is saying here and how you felt about it after you heard it. Hold on. Here's Brad.
Jason's only going to be back once he's 100%. What is that threshold? What's it going to take, the milestones from the get-go?
There's strength thresholds he has to meet, and then after that, several weeks of progressions, right? From the standpoints of, scripted against small groups, scripted against bigger groups, scripted in 5-on-5, unscripted, random, all the way up through those. But it's a long progression, and it's almost like once you hit the strength, then you do your thresholds of a progression of play, and then you're also reconditioning to play real minutes, whatever that looks like. It's, he's obviously made great strides. Right now, we're still focused on the full strength game.
Where's he at right now in terms of that progress, and what do you think the likelihood is that he will play this year?
We're not putting a timeline on it, as we haven't the whole time. I think that, one of the things that everybody can see is we didn't apply for a DPE this year, which was, a conscious decision for a lot of reasons. But the reality is he's not going to be back until he's 110% healthy, and he feels good about it. And that's a big part of it, right? Obviously, he's itching to play. Obviously, he hates watching. But he's also, I don't want to speak for him, but very cognizant of the need to meet every threshold and why there are those things that are put in place. But we've had a lot of great talks about it. And, one of the things that we love about this whole group, but I think the guys that have been here the longest lead the charge, is they love to play.
What's your assessment of how Jaylen's performed so far in that?
So there you have it. So everyone has their opinions on whether Tatum is going to return or not this year. I lean no. I know you guys are leaning not only yes, but definitely yes, or at least were for most of the year, feeling strongly about it. Does Stevens, these comments, if you're thinking on it at all? No, I'll start with you.
No, I don't think his comments moved me 1% in either direction as far as Tatum's likelihood to return. And that's the beauty of a Brad Stevens press conference, where he fully answers all the questions. He really does.
But he says nothing.
He's the only guy that we talk to that actually answers like a multi-part question. But you walk away and then you look at the code and you're like, he really didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything.
So he delineated like what the steps to return are, which we hadn't really had. So there was a little bit more detail there. The 110% thing, I don't think the disabled player exception is much of a factor because they weren't going to use that anyways.
It was not.
But he brought it up.
Said
so
that. Yeah. That was
I think
the only
him
curious
saying
part.
that is like he could come back. Like it's not off the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because they weren't going to use it, they were able to not apply for it as a message to Tatum that we're behind you, we're not ruling you out. Because if they did apply for it and got it and that was a headline, the story would be Tatum's done for the year. See you next year. So I think that's why they did that.
Yeah, so my read on it is this. The Celtics have no intention of bringing him back at any point this year. The Celtics don't want him to come back at any point this year. If everything happens and he checks every box, which they're still not necessarily sure he will, and that's why I think he said 110% and not 100, is even if it's close, he's got to be ready and then some.
And then he understands that.
And that he's got to get that. So like, I really want to stress that we're not counting on this. However, for Jason, we have left the door open a little bit here because he's motivated himself by, really pushing himself
So
to
what's the
return this
difference,
year.
John? What's the difference between he and a Drew Smith and a Isaiah Jackson who do come back 9-10 months after their tears?
I don't think I know, but every body and every human is different. All I'm saying is, I think you're going to be a lot more cautious. It's just like you have a really nice car. You're going to drive it a little bit more carefully and gently. And, you have some beat up jalopy and you don't care about potholes and you're just going to bang it around. Like, I just think the level of extra care you're going to put into a person like Tatum. And as I said, is this out as a poll, like, Bobby, you spoke to the doctor a while back. And one of the things they'd said is if you want to get as close to 0% re-injury, like, avoiding recurrence of the same injury, you want to clear 12 months. If you want to be as close to zero of
That's a good point.
Of re-injuring it, that's where you want to be. So to me, even 1%, 2%, 3% chance of like, it's there. Boy, when he says 110%, I don't just mean like he's ready to go. I mean like, hey, doc, could he benefit from one extra month? And if a doctor's like, I think so, that's a no.
Yeah, that's a
no.
key point.
And
yeah,
that's why it's a no to me, is no matter what, when it comes down to it, I think when you're talking to the medical professionals, be like, he could play, but if you want to be closer to certain, obviously anything can happen. It's professional sports. We can't guarantee he's not going to get hurt again. But if you want to minimize risk to the furthest extent that you possibly can, I think his recovery should go another month or two before he goes. And if that's the case, they're not going to risk it. It is you gain so little. So I think they're trying to placate him. They want to kind of, keep him along. It's driving his rehab, but I really believe the Celtics as an organization do not want Jason Tatum to play this year.
It's a great
at
point.
all.
Yeah,
that's why I've always felt, not that he won't be, not that he couldn't. I bet you he could, and chances are he'd be fine. I bet you
that's a key difference. Yeah, because someone around the Heat told me this tonight, Noah, in terms of, all right, why Smith, why are guys like that come back 9 months, and why Tatum might miss more time here is because Tatum's a franchise player, and there is a long-term outlook with him that Drew Smith, who's trying to make his team and has to come back immediately so he doesn't get cut again, doesn't get the leeway of doing, making sure he's 1,000% before he comes back. He has to get back out there and start playing and earn his spot on the roster again. Isaiah Jackson, similar position, obviously, on the Pacers. So I think that is the difference, that they can take a long view, the long term. And that doctor, like we said in our hit there, Noah, that day, was like, he can come back early. Me as a Celtics fan and the long-term play, I want him to sit out the year. So there's 0% chance when he comes back that he gets hurt again, or right next to 0.
Yeah, I understand that. I've also seen, so the doctor thing is interesting because I think there's been like 5 or 6 doctors that people on just our Celtics beat have consulted regarding this injury. And I've seen a lot of different opinions. Like, I think Bobby Kravitsky spoke to somebody who made the case that there's a risk in missing, 15 months of NBA basketball, and then what that can do to other parts of your body. How it's better to come back in to reduce the risk of other injuries. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to weigh in on what he should or shouldn't do, but I think it's a little bit more complicated than just the 0% risk. If you are playing for a year, like, he's not going to come back and have a high risk or really any sizable risk of re-rupturing that Achilles tendon. The risk, I think, is more like the Kobe Bryant situation where you come back quick and then you hurt something else because you weren't at full strength and full mobility, whatever else it might be. So I don't know. I just wouldn't, if I was a Celtics fan, I just wouldn't worry about him rushing back the way that I see the discourse at times, because there's going to be so many hurdles. There's going to be so many clearance points, so many people that are going to have to sign off on him returning, that if he does return at some point this season, it's going to be because it was completely safe for him to do that. It's not going to be like, we're going to do this risky return because Tatum is throwing a fit because he's sick of sitting on the sidelines. Like, he comes back, he'll come back because it's safe to do so. The question is, does he come back and play 20 minutes a night? Does he come back and play back-to-backs? Like, there's a lot of different risk mitigation even at that point. But I don't know. I still think he's probably going to come back, but that's not like a medical opinion. That's just seeing the way he's been progressing, seeing the way that other NBA players have been able to kind of make that happen for them. And obviously you mentioned, like, I think that's a very valid point, that Drew Smith is in a completely different career moment and status than Tatum is, and they have different considerations. But I don't know. It's still really early. That's the biggest thing, is that we're months away from him having to make that call for sure. And when I spoke to him about a month ago, or 6 weeks ago, he was very much still set on trying to make that happen. Chris Haynes reported that, I think, as well, that Tatum told him that he wants to come back. So if that's where his head's at and he clears those goals, I think it's going to happen. I don't think people need to worry about it too much. Because it's not going to be a risky move. Like, this franchise is not going to risk Jason Tatum's health for a season that I don't think they're super thinking they're going to contend or anything like that.
Yeah, and there are people around Tatum too who obviously have his best long-term interest in mind. So I think there are going to be a lot of different parties who have voices and says in this, and Tatum will play a large role. Joe said as much. It's going to be his decision. I've heard that on a couple of different fronts since too, that this will come down to Tatum and his readiness. Brad said when he feels ready, along with some of the other things he mentioned there. So yeah, his voice will be a sizable one, but there'll be many involved.
That's
in
not
the
true.
Process, obviously.
What's not true?
I don't think that's true at all. I don't think it has anything to do with Jason Tatum saying I'm ready to play. It's literally going to be like he'll be the final check. Like, you good? You've been cleared. You good? He's not driving this like that. When Joe says
he
that,
has the ability to drive it potentially if he does.
It's
feel
asinine.
Like he
if he says I'm ready
and
if he says I'm ready, and any medical expert who's assessing him is like, I don't know, he's not playing. Like,
for sure, but there's going to be some gray area.
It's not
with
up
this
to
thing,
him,
John. I mean, we are at the point 7 months.
There will be.
A month or two. Over the next month or two here, where he's going to be ready to play. Like, the healing's done. The ramp up is in full progress right now toward all the different check marks that Stevens mentions there. But we are going to get over the next month or 2 or 3 here into an area where it's like, all right, like, if you really do want to play right now, you can. But would it be safer to wait another week? Would it be safer to wait another month at this juncture? What do you need to get through in terms of practices and all that? I think there will be an interesting discussion. Not that I'm an expert on return to play or know much about that in any way, but I do have to imagine that there'll be some span of time where it's like, all right, you can probably go now. Should we wait another week? Should we wait 2 weeks? Where's the team at? Are the playoffs approaching? I think there's just a lot of stuff that's going to make it an interesting discussion. How on board is Tatum with being as patient as possible? I think that's where it could get interesting. And, by all accounts, he does seem to understand the big picture right now, but you're also just seeing how much he wants to push, how much he wants to be that, maybe quickest recovery that we've ever seen, the greatest recovery that we've ever seen. I think those are big motivating factors for him, but there's a balance involved. And like Smith said earlier too, you have to take it slow. That's why he got back.
If you can't win finals MVP, then just win the fastest player to return from Achilles trophy. Like, I just don't, I don't know. I mean,
but am I wrong? Doesn't it feel like that's something he wants to do?
I think I agree. I think you made a really good point. There's a lot of gray area. Are you ready? How ready? 100% ready? Could you be more ready? That's going to be
the thing.
Debatable.
That's why I asked that, Noah. Like, what does 100%
mean?
It's not like you just wake up one day and you look at like
it's not your charger.
100%.
It doesn't fill up, hit 100, and then bing, you get to unplug it. Like, you don't actually know what 100 is, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be a little while here before we have those kind of discussions, but we're getting there. 7 months flew by pretty quickly here.
For you. I don't know if it flew by for him.
Yeah.
Fair.
What they did say and what Brad said, I think did a service to Celtics fans out there, which is don't read anything into those stupid videos because they don't mean a freaking thing. And I've been saying that forever. Oh, we dunked. It has nothing to do with that. It's the strength of the ligament and how close he is to getting that thing to 100%. What he's doing right now, like, looks good and it's fine and it's normal, but it has nothing to do with the full, with the recovery of the tendon reaching close to full strength and where it needs to be in order for him to return to the court. So everyone just stop like freaking out every time he posts something new there. He's trying to get back.
Hey.
Right now, it like, you know, right now, March seems to be the target. I'll ask you this. If it's April, do you still want to see it? Like, let's say he misses. I'm not saying he has March as a target, but like that puts you in 10 months, you know, if he's not there, but he's ready to go, like with 5 games to go in the regular season, are you in favor of bringing him back in there? Let's say this team's a 3 seed or a 4 seed. Like, there's a absolute reason to think, oh my God, Jason Tatum puts us over the top. But there's also a tremendous amount of like time to work into whatever it is that's happening, ramp him back up, figure out how he's gonna rotate in at the expense of whose minutes, changing all of your rotations. Like, at that point, is there a certain point where you're like, man, if you don't make it back by then, let's just kick it the next year?
That was my only thing, that playoff basketball is just such a different level of physicality and pace and everything. And so I just, that seems to be like the one reservation I would have, is that if he is cleared, but it's like right before the first round and he doesn't get regular season basketball in, like that wouldn't be an ideal situation. So the odds of because Bobby's asked me this question a couple times, like the odds of him being cleared exactly in time for the first round, but not a week or two before and not like later, just seem like a little bit unlikely. But I think that would be
possible though.
It's possible. Yeah. It's just like, it's a hypothetical of all the weeks that he could be cleared this spring for it to be exactly the first round.
It's the 11-month mark. He tore his Achilles 11 months to the day before the regular season ends. So it is feasible.
I think if the plan is for him to play,
I know, but these are arbitrary. 10 months,
Yeah.
10 months in a week, 10 months in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
None of it matters.
No, I get it. It would be a weird landing spot in terms of that readiness, especially when guys are getting cleared 9 months later. So, I think the All-Star break is going to be so interesting because you get that week off. You get practices when you're coming back from it. It's what, 9 months removed from the surgery. That feels like the sweet spot right now to me.
Again,
Where
I
are you
know
at
it's just
All-Star break.
But the whole thing, I just think is, I've always
Just
thought, like,
based off other guys, John.
But look, if we're gonna base it off other guys, the better comps are not the guys who came back. It's the other superstars who've been injured in the last year. Dame Lillard is older, so you understand that maybe it's going to take someone like that a little bit longer. Fine. Tyrese Halliburton is not. Halliburton's got 3 weeks or a month difference on Tatum right now. And he absolutely ruled himself out for the year right away. No chance he's coming back. So if Tatum's coming back in March, Halliburton could theoretically come back in April. He just thought, I'm not doing it. I'm going to take a year and then I'm going to come back. Most people just take the year. And they just, this is what it's going to take. I'm not risking anything. I'm going to come back full strength. I have too much to lose. I'm a friggin' superstar. I got one big contract. I want another one to come. I don't want to piss away my prime years.
He wants to play, John, and it's why Brad talked the way he did in that press conference, because there is a consideration to let's be as careful as possible and maintain the long term. But you also, and I've said this a million times, Tatum has not had a lot of baggage in terms of superstar pull and things that he's tried to control here.
Yeah.
This is where you're going to run into it because the guy wants to play. It's not a bad thing. And he's going to push as hard as possible to play this year. And you might not love it. You might not feel great about it, but you're going to have to appease it to some degree because he's the star of your franchise.
I will agree with Bobby there. I think we're underestimating how much pull these guys have when it comes to their own medical decisions. And
They
make that call. The superstars around the NBA decide if they have surgery, even if maybe the team doesn't think they should have the surgery. They decide if they want to play. They decide if they don't want to have the procedure, if they want to come back, if they want to get they have a lot of pull on this stuff. And I think that Tatum, like Bobby said, has not been a superstar that has been very high maintenance. But I would, if he feels really strongly about it, I'm sure that'll be a factor. And that's Joe has been stressing that point. But again, he's not going to make a bad decision for his own body and his own career. Nobody cares more about Jason Tatum's career than Jason Tatum. He's not going to act erratically. He has plenty of time to think about that. I would be shocked if he made a decision that was everybody Nick saying is telling him don't do it, and he's I have to do it. That's not how this is going to play.
Okay.
If anything, part of why Brad responded the way he did is because Brad doesn't want us to be having this conversation. So he said nothing that was like newsworthy because it's not good for the team for like this to be moving over. Yeah, but if you think about it, like they could actually say internally they think he's on track to play in February. Like that could be a discussion. There would be no advantage in having any of that come out right now and have that be a discussion point that he's going to be back in 6 weeks.
No.
So that's why it's like we really are kind of in the dark on where he actually is at because there's no incentive for the media to have any sense there.
There's never any incentive to saying to targeting a return for a player because what ends up happening is fans start to get pissed off at that player, wondering where the hell are they? Like, what the hell, man? He was supposed to be a 4 to 6 week injury and it's 8 weeks. Where is he? So you don't do that in any sport with any athlete because it the perception of how the injury is being managed or whether or not are they being a baby right now. It happened to Christian Gonzalez with the Patriots in the preseason. He had a hamstring injury and it just took longer. And everyone's like, is he holding out because he wants an extension? Like your mind starts to go weird places because the expectation was it would be 3 to 4 weeks and he was more in the 4 to 6 week range. It is what it is. So yeah. Noah, before we go, I want to ask you at around the 6 minute mark of the third quarter, the Celtics were down by a few points here and the shots hadn't started falling. How were you feeling about the flow of this game?
I don't know.
No comment.
No comment?
I'm asking Noah, Bobby.
I don't get it.
I'm saying you like to withhold judgment on the game in the middle of the game.
Yes, because I don't like to try to like write the story of the game at halftime. That's all.
So
why?
we're at about the 6 minute mark of the game, and then we have a chat that we don't put Noah on because we don't want to spam her too much all the time. So Bobby, Jimmy, and I have a running dialogue throughout much of this stuff. And Bobby texts me. The Celtics are down 4 points at this point in the middle of the third. 6 minutes and 56 seconds to go in the third quarter, and here's the text. Panic meter show tonight. I was like, why?
No, not a question.
No, panic meter show tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry, declarative. Panic meter show tonight. Why? I hate the way they're playing. There's 18 minutes left in a 4-point game. I'll be surprised if they win, says Bobby Manning.
Truly, the greatest blessing in my life is that I'm not in this group chat. I can't express enough. I really can't express enough.
Because you don't want to be posterized like this?
I don't want to be posterized. Bobby already knows that we've already discussed the fact that he can't just quote things that I've said in passing.
No. I would never
He's
do
been
anything
trained.
That's gonna. I'm very selective about what I would share off of this. Yes, this is. I'm not trying to hurt anybody here. This is a safe space.
The thing that's tough. The thing that's actually the reason that I don't. I do, like jokes aside. We do have this discussion almost every game where, Bobby asks me like my thoughts on what we should talk about after, or like whatever I think about the game. It is really hard. No, it's true. I'm not even throwing slander. It is really hard because things change so quickly in an NBA game when you think about it. Like Jaylen Brown looked really off his game for a lot of tonight. Did he not? Like, didn't he look like he was having? He was finally going to have
the rest of that text, by the way, I didn't include it, was me saying Jaylen Brown's sleepwalking. He'll go into takeover mode sometime soon, and they'll pull ahead and win. That was my assessment. And it actually didn't happen. He woke up, but he wasn't the reason that they turned it around.
He wasn't the reason.
He was a big
reason,
though. He was one
He
of them.
somehow finishes with 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. And I was about to be like, oh, off night for Jaylen Brown. And it's like, that's still his stat line, which to me, by the way, is a great sign that he is a great basketball player, which we know at this point he's had a great season, but that is the hallmark of like an NBA star, right? Where you think they're not playing well, then you go down, you look at their box score and you're like, oh, he almost had a 30-point triple-double. So it is wild though, because I didn't have a great feeling about this game for a lot of the night, and they desperately needed a win. Ugo talked about it post game, right? They don't want to lose 3 in a row. Like that's not a good place to be after having a really good.
It would have been panic meter, so.
But it's like snap of a finger. Sam Hauser hits 4 threes in the fourth quarter. Who could have seen that coming with the way he's been shooting? He turns things around completely. Derek White bakes in a 3, and then next thing you know, you're up by 20, right? So that's why it's really hard. I commend people that can write during games, because I don't even write one sentence during the game.
Well, that's the thing, is like if you're just writing a game story, which is I got to tell you what happened, obviously you have to write during the game. But if you need to take a big picture, I don't recommend it. It doesn't make sense to me, because
These
you really
games
do have
fluctuate quickly.
Especially basketball. Like it just like, I mean, back in my day of like, working in, TV stations and cutting highlights and trying to get them on the air quickly, you cut as you go. And then you're just like, nothing I put down here mattered at all, And so that's why I'd always cut like 6-minute highlights and pair them
Well,
down
I
at
like
the end.
to
But
have
like,
a dialogue, like
Yeah.
where are we at in the second? Where are we at in the third? How you feeling now? How you feel? Like, I get why Noah doesn't like it, but I'm going to keep pushing for conversation that we can take to the show.
Well,
Is there somebody else on the beat that wants to have this discussion with you? There must be
Me
somebody
and
else.
Suichi.
Does he engage?
Yeah,
Okay, there you go.
I'll get his thoughts.
I love it. I like the chatter, but even if it doesn't, my opinions. Like
Listen,
I said,
I was wrong
I don't formulate anything until the end of the game. I don't.
I was dead wrong tonight, but this was a great spot for them. The second half was outstanding right after I sent that text. And the lineup you mentioned, Noah, like Joe's just pushing the right buttons again here in a fourth quarter, going to Ugo at center. He's your third center now, as I've said a couple times tonight. And then Hauser, unbelievable after an injury in the last couple of games that he's had, that he ends up being an X factor down the stretch. So that's this team. And I think I probably should just stop being worried and concerned and nervous about the sustainability of this and just sit back and enjoy what's going on here, because they're figuring it out every single night. There'll be nights where they don't, but most nights they are. And it's the coaching staff. It's Jaylen. It's an underrated depth that this team has for sure here. So I was a believer going in, so I should probably just believe in what's going on.
Yeah,
here.
just shut up and watch. And yeah.
And it is impressive because they lost on the margins tonight. I think the Heat took like 18 or a bunch more shots. I don't have the numbers in front of me than the Celtics. And the Celtics thing this year has been winning the possession battle, right? So, like the whole, again, not to be like a book of cliches, but like the whole sign of a good basketball team too is winning in different ways, right? Not just winning because you didn't turn the ball over and that's been your success to offense all season long. Like they have to have different guys step up, which is why I like the fact that early on Jaylen didn't have it going and they still stayed in the game. And you don't want to be doomed like just if Jaylen doesn't have it going for a half, now you're down by 15 at the half, right? Like Derek shouldered the load, like you're getting some offense from Ugo. I thought there was a lot of big momentum plays that they had, and sometimes that's the difference between a 15-point win and a 15-point loss. Like Josh Minot saves the ball out of bounds. Derek finds Ugo underneath the basket, dunks it. That's a great hustle play. Ugo steals the ball. That leads to Sam Hauser 3. Derek had one where he passed up what looked like a wide open layup. He has 33 points at that point and finds Sam Hauser for the corner shot. Like there was a couple of really good moments in this game where you're like, okay, that's a play that is usually a part of a win. Like sometimes you just don't have enough of those moments. So yeah, it was a great second half. They needed it bad.
Yeah. It was nice to see the contributions coming from the players who delivered them. Simons, desperately needed a win. It was nice to see him play for a long stretch of time and play well. Sam Hauser, great to see the ball get through the bucket for him. It's been a rough year, and then obviously we've talked about Ugo a lot. So again, gave Joe a lot of credit throughout the year. I'm going to continue. He's the biggest piece of my credit cake. I give him a lot of credit for tonight, feeling the flow of the game, pushing the right buttons, getting the right guys in there, switching out the lineups, making it work. And again, results in another win. Celtics snap a 2-game losing streak, improved to 16-11, defeating the Miami Heat 129-116. They are back at it again tomorrow in Toronto. Of course, we will be here as well. So make sure
for the 3 seed.
Tune into the Garden Report. I tell you guys this all the time, but you're still there. You're still hanging out over on the Celtics All Access channel. We love you there. There's plenty of good stuff over there. Don't leave that channel. Just watch the stream on the other channel. The stream is moving. First of the year, it's gone. It'll be just on our main channel, one place. Benefit to that is everyone gets to be in the same place, chatting with one another. You might be seeing us posting comments, and you're like, where did that come from? It's the other place. Go over there. That's where it is. We want you guys all hanging out in the same place. So again, the stream is moving, but there's plenty of other good content that you can get over on that main channel. So make sure that you subscribe to both. As we've said before, quick shout out once again to our sponsors, Prize Picks, #1 daily fantasy sports app in all of North America. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. Download the app today. Use code CLNS. Get 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And go get yourself an Omaha Steaks gift box, or better yet, gift it to somebody. It's the holidays. It makes great gifts right now. There's great gift packages that are heavily discounted on the site. And if you want an additional $35 off, go to omahasteaks.com, use code Patriots at checkout, extra $35 off your order. And some of these things, as I mentioned, are already heavily discounted on the site. So you get some really great deals. They do make great gifts, and they will get to their destination on time. Go out there and order today. Support our sponsors here. Again, code Patriots at omahasteaks.com. And of course, subscribe to the Garden Report here on the CLNS Media Network. And I'll give Noah a shout out. Subscribe to You Got Boston. You're going to get one of those after every game. You Got Boston as well. You can find that over here on our main channel, as well as YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever it is you listen to your podcast. Noah talks about positive things. There's a lot of positive things from tonight's win over the Miami Heat. We thank you guys again for hanging out with us. We will be back in less than 24 hours as the Celtics take on the Toronto Bobby's second favorite team, the Toronto Raptors, north of the border. So
behind the Magic.
Behind the Magic. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks for hanging out. Take care.